Once again, I am your host, Tom Downey. You can go follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more NFL coverage. Let's talk now about the coaching hot seat around the NFL. 10 guys who could be fired, although not everyone will, obviously. And by the way, we've already seen one coach get fired in Hue Jackson. So at number 10, about Sean McDermott. Now again, I'll put his hot seat status as lukewarm. I don't think you're going to see McDermott fired, because I think this is kind of the overall plan for the Bills, is that they knew they were going to regress. But that was due to the roster, not the coaching. When you're trotting out the 3 quarterbacks that they have right now, when you are trotting out Josh Allen, who's very raw and also banged up, of course, when you're throwing out Nathan Peterman for some unknown reason, when you have to go to Derek Anderson, who frankly hasn't been all that much better, it's really not the coach's fault that things have regressed. So I don't think he'll be fired. But if the Bills win only 2 games this year, maybe he'll end up being considered. In the end here, look, it's only year 2 for Sean McDermott. I think he'll hang around, but his hot seat status for now is lukewarm. All right, number 9, how about Doug Marrone? And again, this is still the lukewarm, a little bit more of the long shot category, but a guy to monitor. The Jags have kind of fallen apart, by the way. They beat the Patriots, and it was almost like that was their Super Bowl. They peaked in that, and they've regressed since. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games, and although Doug Marrone led the Jags to the playoffs last year, if they finish 6-10 or win 5 games this year, which I don't think they'll do, but if they do, maybe the Jags say, you know what, we got to go with somebody else. It can't be Doug Marrone. We got to go find someone else to lead this team, because maybe Doug Marrone doesn't have it. Again, I don't think he'll be fired, but I think he is a guy to monitor. All right, number 8, Adam Gase. And again, fits in that same category as McDermott and Marrone. These 3 guys are the lukewarm categories. I don't think they'll be fired, but we are going to monitor them a little bit, and this will probably shuffle as we go along throughout the season. The Dolphins have overachieved this year, and that's great news for Adam. But here's the thing. Why is Rashad Jones pulling himself out of games? Why do the Dolphins need a culture change this year? When you've got a whole bunch of different players that clearly have issues with the organization, when you're not really playing Kenyon Drake maybe as much as you should, as I know Dolphins fans and the media do, or at least want him to be played, maybe there's something not right going on in Miami. Now, I like Adam Gase. I think he's a good coach. But if the Dolphins collapse down the stretch, maybe that's where you see the Dolphins say, all right, let's try it again with yet another new head coach. But 8, 9, 10, Adam, Doug Marrone, and Sean McDermott, I don't think should be fired this year. All right, number 7, Steve Wilks. And I think it's kind of heating up for him. Now, he's 2-6, but both those wins have come over the 49ers. And he's already fired offensive coordinator Mike McCoy. It's not good when you're a first-year head coach and your OC doesn't even make it to the midway point. That's a bad sign for any coach. Now, again, I think overall he's a very talented. I think there's some upside there, but my big concern with Steve Wilks is that he kind of looks overmatched a little bit. At times it's like, okay, why aren't you having more success? I think the Cardinals should have gone with an offensive-minded coach, but I think he looks just a little bit outmatched in year 1. You typically don't see head coaches get fired after 1 year, but if the Cardinals finish the year with 4 wins, 3 wins, maybe they consider it. At the very least, he'll be on the hot seat in a big, big way next year. All right, number 6, this one again, kind of some of the coaches with a little bit hotter seats. How about Todd Bowles? Bowles checks in here at number 6, and I think for good reason. Because I don't think it's looking all that great right now for the Jets. And the front office there, Mike McGacken, the GM, has kind of made it clear that he's not really tying himself as heavily to Todd Bowles. Now, there was an extension for Todd Bowles that is going to keep him under contract in theory through 2020, but the Jets haven't really been all that effusive in their praise, and frankly, Sam Darnold hasn't looked that good this year. So maybe you see another OC change instead. And I like what the defensive mind that Todd Bowles bring, but they're 3-6 this year. If they finish with 6 wins, maybe the Jets say, all right, let's try and get in a new coaching staff to get Sam Darnold on track. But let me know, folks, especially you Jets fans out there. Should the Jets can Todd Bowles? Give me a like for yes and a laughy face for no. All right, into the top 5 here, Mike McCarthy. At a certain point, all relationships just have some issues. They go through ups and downs, and sometimes after, a decade plus, it's just time to part ways. This might be the end of the line for Mike McCarthy. They're 3-4-1 this year. They haven't looked all that good at times. And if they miss the playoffs, I have a tough time seeing Mike McCarthy hanging around anymore. Now, the playoff record's been fine, but Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem to get along at times with McCarthy. That's a big factor there, and Aaron's not going anywhere. No, by the way, there is a new GM in charge and a new line of reporting. So if Green Bay misses the playoffs, maybe that's when you see the Ravens say, all right, Mike, thanks, but we're going to go a different direction now. All right, number 4 in a similar boat is John Harbaugh. And they've had success there. Both those guys have won Super Bowls. But it seems like it's playoffs or bust this year for John Harbaugh. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that because I think Harbaugh is a great coach. I like him more than Mike McCarthy. And I think if he did get fired, he would be employed for a couple of days, or unemployed for a couple of days. Someone out there would hire him. The Browns and other teams on this list, I think, would go heavily at John Harbaugh. But he hasn't made the postseason since 2014. Baltimore started hot, and then has faded away since then. So if the Baltimore Ravens miss the playoffs, maybe they do end up firing John Harbaugh. That's why they're number 4. But let me know, folks, will the Ravens make the playoffs? Give me a heart for yes and a wow face for no. And I'll tell you now, if you vote no, I think that means you're saying goodbye to John Harbaugh as the Ravens head coach. All right, into the top 3, Cowboys fans. I know you guys will like this one. Jason Garrett. As I've said since before the year began, it is playoffs or bust. And the Cowboys, coming off a bye, coming off the addition of Amari Cooper, laid an egg against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football. And you saw Jerry Jones at the game. He wasn't all too happy. Now, Jerry wants Jason to be the guy. He really does. But I don't think Jerry Jones is completely as incompetent as some of you want to think out there. If the Cowboys win 6 games, 7 games, whatever, and miss the postseason, I think you're going to see Jason Garrett get fired. So I know the answer from this one from you Cowboys fans. Should the Cowboys fire Jason Garrett? Type K for keep, type F for fire. I know most of you type fire, but maybe there are some NFC East teams out there that want to type K for keep. Now, our friends over at BetDSI have some new betting odds on if Jason Garrett will be the Cowboys head coach in 2019. Plus 350 for yes, minus 588 for no. Heavy favorites that he won't be, but I'll make note, the line has actually been betted in favor of the yes as of late. There's been some action on people voting yes. Now, if you want to vote yes, odds are in your favor. Risk 10, you'll win $35. If you're risking no, well, you're only going to win $1.70 if you put down $10. Or you could have been like me and gotten in on the action a long time ago and put no when it was minus 192. I feel pretty good about that bet right now. And you can get in on this action, folks, at chatsports.com/bet. And go use promo code LIVE120 for a 120% deposit bonus. What that means is you put down $100, they're going to give you $120 for free to bet with. You can go put that down on Jason Garrett or whatever game you want to bet on this week. And you're still going to have plenty of money to bet with. You are playing with the house's money at chatsports.com/bet if you use promo code LIVE120. All right, number 2 here is Dirk Koetter, and frankly, I think he should have been fired last year. I think he should have been canned. The Bucs have not been very good this year. They've fallen apart after a decently hot start. They have issues across the board right now. His status, by the way, is in fuego as far as I'm concerned. The front office and the staff, I think they're tied together. That's why I don't think you'll see Dirk Koetter get fired. The GM, if they fire Dirk Koetter, they're also probably going out as well. But Dirk Koetter, I thought, was a weird head coaching hire at the time. Hasn't really worked out all that well. And by the way, the regime, the coaching staff, the front office, and Jameis Winston, they're all kind of tied at the hip there. You could see a massive overhaul this offseason in Tampa. But at number 1, and I know Denver Broncos fans agree with me, it's Vance Joseph. Now, Elway says that Vance won't be fired right now. They're not going to make that move quite yet, and they're going to wait to the rest of the season here to hold that out. Here's the thing with Denver, though. They need to finish 5-2 if they're going to avoid their first back-to-back losing seasons since 1971 and 1972. If that doesn't happen, Vance is gone. Now, I'll be honest, I liked the hire at the time. I was wrong. Joseph is not getting the job done in Denver. It was a disaster his first year. It's been bad this year. I think you have seen the end of the road for Vance Joseph. But I want to know from you guys, and I know Denver fans are voting yes. I've seen it plenty on social media and some Denver fans that I know. Should the Broncos fire Vance midseason? Give me a laughy face for yes because you think he's a laughing stock of a coach, or a wow face for no because you're surprised that they're even considering it. I think it's a yes. It's Denver's not making the playoffs. Joseph's not the guy. I think you're going to see him fired after this season ends. All right, folks, so to recap my NFL coaching hot seat. Number 10, Sean McDermott. Number 9 is Doug Marrone. Number 8 is Adam Gase. Those three fall in they're not that likely, but just monitor those names and how they fare down the stretch. Number 7 is Steve Wilks, kind of in his own category as he's got only 1 year, but things have not worked out all that well. Todd Bowles there at number 6 has kind of fluctuated his spot on our NFL coaching hot seat, but they haven't looked very good as of late, and the Jets might try and get a more offensive guy to help out Sam Darnold. After all, that's the priority for development. Number 5 is Mike McCarthy. Number 4 is John Harbaugh. And number 3 is Jason Garrett. Those three are all kind of in the playoffs or bust mentality, I think, from the regimes in charge right there. Garrett not that far behind a Dirk Koetter and a Vance, who, frankly, I think are dead men walking. I don't think they're going to make it at the end of the year. I think both those guys will be fired. But I want to know from you, who will be the next NFL head coach fired? Let me know in the comments section. I think it'd be a guy like Vance Joseph, but we'll see what happens there. Again, Elway said he didn't want to replace him, but I think that if the Broncos lose, let's say 2 of their next 4, and they're guaranteed that, at best, 500 mark, I think that's when you'll see the Broncos consider saying, you know what, maybe it is time to let go of Vance Joseph.